Hi there, we're back for a new English Matura Express stream. Today it's about taking initiative in a dialogue and dealing with difficulties. So stay tuned, please. Yes?
Yes.
We're on. Okay,
Yes.
cool. Can you put on the PC?
Uh-huh. As soon as I can. There we go.
Yay! Okay, good. So today we're talking about, first thing is that we're talking about how to take initiative in a dialogue. And why is that important? It is important because you're not only tested in the exam on your English speaking skills, but also on your conversation skills. And that means that you have to show some interest in the conversation, that you have to engage in the conversation, and it's not just answering questions and then you're done, but also asking your the examiners what they think, or just putting in a new point. All that is meant by taking initiative in a dialogue. So how can you do that? Or where's the first chance that you can take initiative and open up a dialogue? And that is basically when you finish your task 1, when you finish your first role play where you give the talk, and then afterward in task 2 it says you open up the discussion to this and that, and there you can ask the first question to your audience, the examiners, and that is very easy by saying something like, what do you think? Are there any more questions? Do you want to discuss anything further? And so on. And then the discussion starts and the conversation. And then when you are in the conversation and you have the feeling that there was enough said to the first point you discussed, then you can start by adding a new argument. And that could be by saying, may I add this point? May I add a new idea? May I add a different opinion, something like that, okay? Or if you have the feeling that you can't say anything more to that field that you're discussing, you can also shift the point, and that is also taking initiative. And that you can say, that you can do by saying something like, I would, can you read that? Yeah. I would like, hoopala, to move to another point. And that is perfectly okay, because you don't have to wait for the examiner to open up a new point, but you can also do it. So if you have the feeling, oh, there's something on my note sheet which I really want to discuss, then say, oh, I would like to move to another point, and that is my idea, and what do you think about it? And that is perfect initiative in a dialogue. You could also be a bit more formal, or a bit more taking the examiner with you by saying, shall we have a look at this idea? Shall we have a look at the numbers again? Shall we have a look at something that is on my note sheet? And then you talk about that, okay? And one last phrase I would advise you to use is something like, I'd like you to, and then you can go on like, I'd like you to think about the disadvantages. I'd like you to think about the advantages. I'd like you to think about my former point again, and then you go on, okay? But these are 4 perfectly fine phrases for taking initiative in a dialogue. And because the dialogue part is not like 40 minutes long, you won't probably don't need more than that, okay? What else? Just general advice. what is taking the initiative again? You ask questions. That is initiative. And you can also ask for agreement or for reassurance, yeah? That you're not like giving a monologue speech, but that you're then asking, do you agree with me on that? Are we on the same page? Something like that, okay? So that's basically the first part, use of phrases for taking initiative. And I hope it's clear what taking initiative is. And this is basically, this part here is for task 2 and the follow-up discussion. Yeah, with these phrases, it doesn't really matter whether you're still in your role in task 2 or you're yourself in the follow-up discussion. Okay, and then English is a very polite language. So whenever you use phrases in the dialogue, and that's what we discussed last week also for politely agreeing and disagreeing, keep that in mind because it's a very, very polite language. Sometimes I think for a German native speaker, even a bit awkwardly polite, yeah, but you have to get used to it. Okay, and this is again, if you want to not interrupt, but kind of interrupt the line of arguments and you want to move somewhere else, you can always go with, oops, the pen is really not working that well. Oops, wait. Works. Oh no. Sorry. Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt your thought. I'm sorry to interrupt your line of arguments, but there's a but, and then you go, okay? Or very polite when you want to say, thank you for that very special thought. I would like to go on with that. Yeah. Or what else do we have? Yeah. That's always a good one. If you want to disagree, I'm afraid I can't go along with you on that. I'm afraid I have to disagree. Or something else. If you have the feeling that you're not understood correctly, and not meaning by a word-wise, but by thought-wise, yeah. If you have the impression that the discussion shifts in a direction where you didn't really want it to go, then you could always say, oh, sorry, I was aiming at that and that point. I can explain it some further so that you can follow, that we can discuss it again. But this is something for that, yeah? I was aiming and then at. Okay. And then also all the nice phrases. May I add something? Could you just hang on to that thought and I finish mine, and something like that. Okay, that's really for being polite. Just have that on your script because it shows that you're culturally aware of the politeness concept in the English language. Okay. That's really for that. No, I'm not finished yet.
Shall we dance?
Okay, there are 2 more things that follow and then we have finished, so it's not going to be that long anymore. Okay, useful phrases for dealing with difficulties. What kind of difficulties could there possibly happen? In that exam situations, and I think you're very well aware what could happen to you or what has happened to you, but let's see. Maybe you don't have the words, yeah? You don't know what to say, or you you didn't understand the question. Yeah, that could happen. Or you lose, that's double, oh no, one, yeah. Hey. The pen is not writing anymore. Yes. You lose your thread. Meaning that you start talking and then you forget where you're at, okay? So that could happen to you, that are very common things, but then here's the thing, that doesn't have to be a difficulty really. You can always say, and then you can always be very honest to the examiners and say what's happening, okay? Because from my experience as an examiner, you really can't read from some students whether it's coolness they are showing, whether it's devastation they are showing, or nervousness. So just tell the examiner what's happening if one of these three things or anything else happens to you. If you didn't understand the question, then you say, oops. No, you don't say hoops. That is... Okay, you say, it's right here. I am sorry, but I... You say, I'm sorry, but I don't quite understand, and then you say what you don't understand. If you don't understand the word, then you're asking, like, I'm sorry, but I don't quite understand what you mean by globalization or whatever the word is that you didn't get. If you don't understand the question, then you can always say, I'm sorry, but I don't quite understand what you're asking me. Can you maybe put it in other words or something? Yeah, but talk to the examiners. That's really the first rule. And also here, if you lose your thread, then you can also say, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. And then they perfectly can jump in and say, oh, you were talking about this and that. And then you go like, yeah, okay. And then you go on again, yeah? And if you don't know words, then you tell them, okay? Then you can always say, I am lost for words. So I'll try to describe what I'm wanting to say, okay? So it's no magic. You just have to talk to the examiner. That's really it. And here, one great thing. I'm going to put a little box on here. And oh no, I put a frame on.
Put yourself in the box.
Oh here, look. Let's make a little frame around myself. That's great. Okay, good. Why?
Mona Lisa.
I'm crying. Okay, it's right up here. Here, I can do a little background as well.
Please, a bird.
A bird. I can do this.
Do you like the birds out there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anyone out there?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay. But let's get back to... I lost my train of thought, actually. Yeah. Here. There's something called hesitation fillers. And with that, you can barely read that, hesitation fillers. And with that, you can buy some time. And that's, in German, German speakers tend to say like, something like that, yeah? But the English have something better. So you can always go like, well, you see, that is an interesting point. What else do we have? I see. Okay. Yes, that is interesting. can you repeat the question maybe, okay? And then you have some time. Or you start with, well, and then you keep thinking what you want to answer to that question. But those 3 here are better. I mean, they're not good if you have to use them that often, but they're better than or like this, okay? So let's see what we've done today. Taking initiative, I think that's quite clear. That's I see. I did it myself. Well, being polite, and you see, dealing with difficulties. And are you here next week?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. So next week, we're going to have some exams on health and nutrition. It's going to be about new diet trends and I think obesity, but I'm not quite sure.
We'll see.
We'll see. And then we will pay special attention whether Dominic can be very polite, whether he will take initiative in a dialogue. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then we'll see if he has difficulties or not. And until that, you can take some notes, go through all the phrases that you might find handy and put them down so you have them ready for exam. And actually, that's it. It was very quick stream. Thank you for that.